Perry Pencil.
Hello everyone, this is Perry Pencil, and you guessed it, when I first saw this, I was wondering what was going on, and then I realized that Thanos is going to be on the big screen. Yes, that's right, Big Baddie himself. Been probably about 20 years in the making. I'm excited to announce that Thanos will be gracing the big screen on the Avengers Infinity War. So let's begin. Grab your pencils, let's get started, because we're going to draw Thanos. Okay, let's get started. Start off by bringing the line down about 2 inches for the top of his head, then divide your page in half. Once completed, go ahead and begin putting an oval in for Thanos' head. Then put an oval shape for his neck. Now, for this pose, we're going to have his shoulders on a slant. His right arm is going to be slightly lower than his left arm. Then this curve is going to work or come off of the center line that divides the page in half. Then you want to measure 2 heads for his chest. And then off of his chest, you want to put a slanted line just like we put on his shoulder. Then repeat that arc shape just like we did for the right side, and then put another one on the left side. Then we'll measure the head shoulders length with the head, index and thumb, and immediately put a half circle in on his right side because we don't see the entire shoulder, and a complete circle on the left side. Then you can place an oval directly underneath the circle for his shoulder, have it go off the page, then put a line in for his chest on the slant, then put a curve for the left side rib cage. Now we're going to focus on his left arm, put an oval in just like we did on the right, and then put a cylinder shape in. Once you do that, you can put in a circle for his elbow. Off of the elbow, we're going to go ahead and we're going to raise his forearm off of that elbow circle. For his wrist, you're going to have it come just above his shoulder, and then put the elbow in. Now for the hand, we're going to go ahead and block in a square shape. Circle for the thumb. Have the thumb hinge come around. We don't see the rest of it. Then put in 4 circles for his knuckles. Have the index finger come up a little bit. Middle finger come up a little lower. Ring finger drop a little lower than that. And the pinky finger, you don't really see that much. Now we're going to focus on his face. For his face, he's looking in a different direction. So I have a line go straight across and put a temple line in. And then put another temple line in for the right and divide the face in half. Bring the chin down. And then block in his jaw shape. Now from here, we're going to go ahead and put his ear in, which is off of the side of his head. Then have that neck come down. His neck is pretty thick, so you want to have the neck come just before the ear. Then put a jawline in. I'm doing this jawline jagged. This is more of a sketching fashion so that we could block in the shape of his head. Have his head come up to a point, come around to the left side, and then put the side of his face in. Now we're going to add a little detail here. We're going to start with his eyebrow. Thanos' eyebrow is a bit peculiar. He doesn't have eyebrows, so you want to put the muscle of the eyebrow in and then have his eye come in up on a slant, and then come down towards the nose. And we're going to repeat the same process. Let's put the bridge of the nose in and do the eyebrow the same way we did on the right side on this left side. Now you have the right eye, or the left eye rather, come over just like we did with the right eye. And we could begin dealing with his nose. Have a line that comes straight across, and the bridge of the nose is going to be a little shorter because he's slightly looking upward just a little bit. Have the bridge of the nose come down and place his nostrils, put his nostrils in on either side of the line that divides his face in half. Then put the outer nostril on the left side and repeat the same process for the right side. Once completed, and shade the nostrils in. Put a little shading just underneath his eyes there, or his eyebrows. Clean that up a bit. Make him look a little more menacing. Now for his mouth, put his mouth line in there, and we're going to have his dimple on the side. It's going to come from his nose and then come around on the side, because he is smiling, or he's not showing any teeth, but he does have a smirk. So the corners of his mouth is going to be the start of the position. Then have the line come up for his mouth, go straight across, and bend and come on the left side of his face. Put a line underneath his lip for the bottom lip shape. Add a little shading in between his eyebrow and his actual eyelid. And of course the infamous Thanos chin. And go ahead and clean up a little bit so you can see what's going on here. Feel free to always, if you need to, clean up just so that things are clearer when you're drawing. Again, when you're sketching a figure out, or whatever figure you're drawing, you always want to remember, just so that you don't go too dark, so that you can, actually clean it up if need be. Now we're going to go put his inner ear in. Now we're going to focus on his jaw. So bring his jaw into the chin that's already drawn there. And repeat the same process on his left side. And clean up the top of his head a little bit here. And bring it in. Because Thanos' head is narrow as it goes to the top. And his jaw is slightly wider at the bottom a little bit. And here we're going to put the left ear in. You don't see the entire ear, just like you don't see it. You see the entire ear on the right, but not on the left. Now the infamous chin, we're going to add that detail. Of course, he has ridges in his chin, so you do those one by one. It's kind of Thanos' signature look. It's a part of his features, so we want to add that in. And I'm making his neck a little thicker here. Bring that line in to complete the ear. Now we're doing the outside of his cheekbone and doing some of his forehead. Now this right here, what I'm doing is actually cutting into where his jaw on the left is. Now this is going to be his collar, and then underneath his eyes we're going to add a little bit of detail. Have that collar come down, over, and then down again. Add more detail to his neck, and then putting the collar on his right side as well. Notice I drew a line through it so I can make it as even as possible. Although his shoulders are slanted, I have the line slanted as well. I'm going to put his iris in. I want the iris to be in the direction of his glove, because he's going to be looking at the gauntlet. I'm going to pull out further here so that we can see an entire figure, or at least the upper part of him. Now we're going to start with the right shoulder, and his chest plate is in the arc. It's going to come down to where the chest is, on the right and left side, and continue that arc to his left shoulder. Now we continue the collar part. Repeat that same line, and it's going to come around. Notice I put an arc there so that you can see exactly where the arc needs to begin and where it needs to end. I'm going to come down the center here, come back up, and then come on the left side. And of course this collar is going to be slanted from left to right. I'm going to do the left collar, have it come up, and then behind the ear. And add the shapes in. And feel free at any given time, if you need to pause this video, to take a closer look at what I'm doing step by step. I'm going to put his shoulder in. We have two arcs here just before we get to his arm or the bicep and tricep area. And we're going to put in 3 separate slots here. And do the same thing for his right side. And just as I did on the left, I'm going to repeat the same process. Then we're going to go ahead on and use his chest off of the shoulder and come straight down off the page. Put those 4 lines in, just like we did on the left. Now working our way down to the mid piece on the chest. And putting that arc in that's a part of his outfit on his chest. And it's just simply 2 curved lines. Now we put in simple detail that's on his the breastplate part of his chest, and I'll move this line over. Notice I moved it over a hair because his arms need to look a little bigger. If not, he would have not looked as powerful. So I did go ahead on and correct that by adding a darker line. If you notice in this tutorial, when I correct things, you always just make a darker line and it covers the lighter line that you didn't want. Now, let's go ahead and move over to his gauntlet, the most exciting part, I think, of this tutorial. Now, notice we've already went on ahead and sketched everything lightly. Now what we want to do is go back over Thanos' gauntlet, Infinity Gauntlet. And if you notice, I'm just outlining it right now with a contour line with an HB pencil. Working my way around the bottom portion of the thumb, and notice that the contour I'm concentrating on, I'm actually following the actual outline of what it's shaped like. So it's jagged and has the glove part. Then it has other components of that glove part that extends down and covers his entire forearm. So I'm going to go ahead and continue that, and it overlaps as it goes down towards his elbow. Now, with his thumb, we're going to go ahead and cover the contour, the outline of the outside of his thumb. And repeat the same process until the thumb is completely covered. And the same thing with the rest of his fingers. Starting with the index finger, there's 2 lines there, and then the 3rd line going back into space. Same thing with the middle finger. The gauntlets tend to have overlapping layers. So when the fingers bend, it'll look like different layers of metal. So that's what helps give the illusions. As you notice, when I'm doing my pencil, I'm putting in these lines, and the pinky, you only see one of those because he has that completely clenched. Now, the bottom portion of it is going to wrap around to the center, go up and down, and then come around. The outside of it on the outer part of his forearm is going to have an arc to it. Then as it comes down a little further, there's another. You want to have that muscle that comes right underneath the gauntlet itself, and then the elbow. Continue that line around. Now notice I'm coming up to the bicep. That's the muscle that overlaps the shoulder. And then the bottom portion of the forearm that's flexed as his arm is bent back towards him. And then go ahead and put those rivets lines that he has in his elbow. And that's the 3rd line there, 4th line, and the 5th one stops. And now we're going to put where the infinity gems will go. starting with the pinky, then put a square where the ring finger is, the middle finger, and then a ring finger. And I just simply put in squares. Some of them are, you know, different sizes and shapes and things like that. I think each gem is different, so you can kind of use your creative freedom there. And then put little light outlines around them. This portion of it is just simply circles. One circle, and then there should be, or you could put an inner circle. And with the gauntlet glove itself, the first portion of it, it wraps up and then touches the oval in the middle, and then come down to the outside near the thumb and do the same thing. And the thumb has the open part of the gauntlet so that the thumb can actually bend. If you notice, I went ahead and drew that in so the thumb can actually flex. And here we're laying in some minor detail. These are separate components of the gauntlet over the forearm, and they consist of two lines that overlaps, and then there's an arc that comes in here. So with this particular portion of the tutorial, there's lines that overlap other lines, and I recommend pausing this and, you know, looking at in detail what I'm doing with the gauntlet at this point. There's overlapping lines, layers, and things that cause the gauntlet to have a three-dimensionality to it. So this particular line that I just did goes straight down and wraps around to the portion that's open over his forearm. And close the bottom off. And then on his shoulder he has the same kind of lines or rivets that is a part of his skin. And then if anyone could tell me what that is, what's on his chin, like the scroll characters, feel free to leave it in the comments section. I'm not the expert when it comes to all the details on Thanos. Add a little bit of detail on the gems. Now, this is going to do some minor cleanup. Let me know what your thoughts are about this tutorial. I'm excited about the movie. I hope everyone else is excited as well. Do some minor things, and that's going to complete this drawing.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe by pressing this round button at the bottom. Also, click on one of the two top videos at the top. Please like this video, tell a friend, and share it on Facebook. Thank you. Perry Pencil.